Up yours, woke moralists. We'll see who cancels who.
My anus is bleeding.
He can't sit down.
They call them dumps, big massive dumps.
Got a flame coming out of his butthole.
Beta male.
Get in a long tube with a bunch of demons.
Don't you ever do that. Don't you ever do that. I tell you, don't do it.
Oops.
We're under attack. It is an alien force, not of this world. It's not human intelligence.
Bullshit.
Trust me, I'm like a smart person.
Bullshit.
It's not a salami sandwich.
Disappointed!
Repeat the line.
Disappointed!
How you like that, boy?
No.
Give me a break.
Stop it.
Fired.
Fired! Fired!
Bitch, move it along.
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
I'm not worth your McDonald's money.
I have not loved this conversation.
From the nation, Waldorf Nation. What's up, everybody? It's Monday. Welcome to the show. We are all sorts of disorganized today, so we're just going to take it one story at a time. All right, so for that, please welcome to the show. Like and share the video, the live stream, please. And what we're going to do, the stories. First, we're going to go over some poll results real quick, and then we got plenty of stuff. We have the deep state. Oh, what's going on? The real deep state? What is going on here? We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about a, let's see, panicked lawyer. We've got Trump lawyers needing to hire other lawyers. Fun. We have cringy Republican ads in Michigan. That's fun. And yes, we are going to talk about Mike Pillow, but it's going to be a little bit more serious. So it's not going to be pillow talk, but you'll see once we get into the segment. That said, why don't we just dive in first? Polling. So now, over the weekend, I asked you all, this specifically for the YouTube audience. I also asked on Twitter, do you want me to retire the Mike Pillow segments? So I'm going to show you the results of what I have received. So there's a question. Only about 2,000 of you voted. So, hey, look, it's just like American democracy. Very, very small amount of people voted. And of course, if you don't like the results, so sad, what are you going to do? It appears that Mike Pillow segments, that pillow talk, will still be continuing. I know. So, hey, look, what can you do? It's democracy, everybody. You do a democracy, and sometimes it's just not going to work out. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? The results on Twitter, again, far less people, so I didn't include it, but there was somewhere around about 70% of people who voted to keep pillow talk. So, all right, with that said, Cassandra Preston on Facebook asks, if the star has to do with money, I am on a fixed income, I will not be able to do that. Should I unfollow? No. You can follow the page without paying any money. That's totally fine. In fact, look, all I ask for you to do is to please like and share the streams. You don't actually have to pay anything to follow the page. That would be super weird and actually counterproductive to do that. No, just follow the page, like the page, You don't have to send stars if you don't want to. You don't have to subscribe if you don't want to. Only if you can afford it. Only if you like to support the page. Otherwise, just follow and you continue to get the content and the videos that are free. So hopefully that answers your question. I understand what it's like for people to be on a fixed income and not be able to afford it, but still also, support their favorite, creators, people that they like to follow, listen to news. And so, again, completely free to watch the content. And if you have anything extra to help out, that's all I ask. If not, don't worry about it. It's all good. So, all right. I didn't get to ask, by the way, speaking of Facebook, I don't know how to do a poll on Facebook. So why I wasn't able to get to the Facebook audience for that. But I will probably work on doing some follow-up polling there as well. But so far, Mike Pillow is going to stay around for a little while. Pillow talk. Okay. So, why don't we get started? Let's start with Ron DeSantis. Last month, Republican Governor Ron DeSantis flew 48 asylum seekers to Martha's Vineyard in what is, of course, a cheap political stunt. So now we've been getting some more details into how this went down and whether or not any laws were actually broken. For example, I don't know, human trafficking, as well as now apparently misuse of state funds, not just in funding, of course, the specific charter company that happens to have donated very handsomely to Republican politicians, including Matt Gaetz. Interesting. Now, let's get here to some of the details about these new revelations. Now, this comes from the New York Times. They published an article on Sunday detailing some of the accounts of some of the migrants who claimed that they were tricked, and even published the name of the person who had recruited them onto these flights. Now, the woman named is Perla Huerta, and she is a former combat medic and counterintelligence agent, who was discharged last month after 2 decades in the U.S. Army, which included several deployments to Iraq and Afghanistan, according to her military records. Ms. Huerta was sent to Texas from Florida in order to target Venezuelan migrants, asylum seekers, in order to trick them into getting on these flights to Florida and then eventually to Martha's Vineyard. So now several of the migrants on the Martha's Vineyard flight photographed her during the recruitment process in San Antonio, and according to Rachel Self, a lawyer representing the migrants. Lawyers working with them were also able to match those photos with others online and in social media belonging to her as well. Working with Huerta was a Venezuelan migrant who identified her to the police, so we know who she is. A former counterintelligence agent, now working with Ron DeSantis, or for Ron DeSantis, to do his cheap political stunt. Great. So now the man who worked with her also says that he was misled. Quote, this is from the article. The man who said he worked with her to help sign up other migrants agreed to speak on the condition of anonymity that his name not be used because the events are under investigation. He said that he first met Ms. Huerta on September 10th outside the Migrant Resource Center in San Antonio. She asked him to help her recruit other migrants like him from specifically Venezuela. She claimed that she just wanted to help people. I just want to help you guys be able to get up north. Because there will be jobs and money. Now, he had no idea that she was working on behalf of the government of Florida. He said that if he had known, he wouldn't have gotten involved. Quote, I was also lied to. So now, look, that's shady. That's super, super shady. Now, not only that, but the New York Times also notes the waivers that were signed by the migrants, there were two different versions, one in Spanish and one in English. And it turns out that upon examination, the waiver that was in Spanish said something completely different than the one that was actually printed in English. Ah, right. Well, I mean, obviously, because, look, you count on them not knowing English because they're from Venezuela. And so, you know, you tricked them by saying, oh, no, it says the same thing in English. I mean, who would come up with two different meanings, two different sayings? Just sign both, sign the one in Spanish, and then sign the thing in English, and then you'll be fine. Now, of course, they did that likely because of plausible deniability. What do you mean? They agreed to everything. There's two different signatures. It's not trafficking at all. And they probably just, you know, dispose of or probably hide the ones that were in Spanish that said something completely, or whichever one happens to be more favorable to the cause of Florida government. There's more details. Perla, most of them said, had also approached him in San Antonio about a free flight to Massachusetts, which I guess it was free to them, not so much to the taxpayers of Florida. They were told that there would be jobs there, people to help them. She also provided them with free, again, to them, meals at McDonald's and a place to stay at a nearby La Quinta Inn before the flight. Now, again, not funded from her pocket, you know, or the kindness of her own heart. No, funded by Florida taxpayers. Now, again, I think it's fine to help migrants. We should absolutely help migrants, and there's no problem with that. But it's the deception here. The deception. That's the big problem. So she comes up there and says, yeah, migrants, are you from Venezuela? Specifically Venezuela. I'm here to help you. Or are you hungry? I'll take you to McDonald's. Do you need a place to sleep? Oh, don't worry, I'll put you up for a night. All on me. It's just because I care. So here she is pretending to give a damn about these migrants when really being secretly part of a plan to take them and to ship them up north to Massachusetts, where they will have no help, where they will have no jobs, and they will be sprung on these people in Martha's Vineyard. Not that I'm like boo-hooing for rich people in Martha's Vineyard or anything like that, but it's this thing of, oh, we're going to own the libs. And we're going to lie to these people and use them in a way to own the libs. It's absolutely disgusting. Now, the migrants also received a folder with a brochure, and I had showed that to you before in another segment that was titled Refugee Migrant Benefits in both English and Spanish. It was a fake brochure saying that Massachusetts welcomes you, which again, the governor, who's a Republican, had no idea that these migrants were being sent to Martha's Vineyard, to a state. And by the way, just funny enough, because we're dealing with Republicans here, the state flag was wrong. Not current. Let's be fair about that. So, fake brochure, not even a current flag for Massachusetts, with benefits that weren't real. Well, no wonder they felt betrayed. And listed on the back were the names and numbers of a church, a synagogue, and a nonprofit located in Martha's Vineyard. Now, the pamphlet also promised about up to 8 months of cash assistance for income-eligible refugees in the state of Massachusetts. That, of course, again, was a lie. There were absolutely no benefits available to these people. And so, look, they knew. And by they, I mean Florida Republicans who had masterminded this entire thing knew that what they were doing was a lie and using these people as nothing more than political props in a game. It's disgusting. Now, a man named Carlos, who was approached by Perla at a supermarket near the shelter where he'd been staying in San Antonio, said this, quote, "We were tricked in Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Mexico, And then in the United States, he had told Perla, Miss Huerta, that he was searching for work and that, again, that she had lied to him, promising him transport to a place where he would be cared for and offered a job. We can work at anything, he said. We are here for our families. Now, let me just go to some of the rhetoric that I'm sure you remember hearing from the right wing. Oh, yeah, the immigrants are coming over and they're lazy. They're lazy. They want free government handouts so that, they'll vote for Democrats. Immigrants can't vote. Migrants can't vote, I should say. If you don't have documentation, you likely can't vote. Many places. So, again, lie. So there's one. Oh, they're lazy and they want the government benefits. But then there's the other thing. Oh, they're coming in and taking our jobs. Who's hiring them? I mean, that's always a question they avoid. They don't like to answer that one. Hey, if they're coming in and stealing our jobs, then who's hiring them? And why? And why aren't they getting in trouble for exploiting labor that is undocumented? Or, of course, what is lower wages? Again, they're not getting free benefits. They are coming here to work, and oftentimes, as I mentioned, they're getting exploited. And to top this all off, they're escaping from a country that Republicans despise, saying that they actually care about these people that are coming from Venezuela. Oh, well, they're eating dogs and rats in Venezuela. We need to help the Venezuelans. So much so that Donald Trump wanted to do a coup. Yeah, to overthrow Nicolas Maduro. We want to help the Venezuelans so much. So when Venezuelans come here to escape that government, what do Republicans do? They round them up and ship them off to Massachusetts. Disgusting. And again, they want to come here, escaping that country, and they want jobs. But see, here's the thing. Republicans are so incredibly racist and xenophobic that they say, no, I hate these people. I hate them because they're brown. Brown people don't deserve the American dream. That's for white people only. And politicians like DeSantis, they take this money, right? There's like a $12 million fund that's set up for this. Well, kind of. Instead of using money to help his constituents and to try to enact better economic outcomes in his state through more working class, pro-working class economic policies. For example, bringing down the astronomical amounts of rent in some of their biggest cities, Miami, or increasing wages for average people. He instead spends public money on just BS like this. And it's because there's a political benefit to it. He knows Republicans are that racist. Now, one more thing, according to the report, DeSantis had realized, or at least the government had, that there weren't just enough Venezuelans coming to Florida. So instead, whoever authorized this grabbed them from Texas without the knowledge of Governor Greg Abbott. Now, that's not to say that Governor Greg Abbott is not a bad person. No, he was doing his own stunts by shipping them off to Chicago, Washington, and New York. So he did the same thing, and DeSantis said, oh man, we got to get into them that. Turns out our racist voters really love this. Here's what we're going to do then. Since we don't have enough Venezuelans of our own, we're just going to grab some from Texas. They'll never know. We're going to grab them from Texas. We're going to fly them from Texas to Florida. Then we're going to fly them out to Martha's Vineyard. Now, the thing is, the fact that this is relevant, okay, that's because the $12 million pot of money that was used to fly the migrants out was earmarked only to fly the migrants out of Florida, not to pay this charter company that, again, has ties. I believe it's Veritol. That was, has ties to the Florida Republican Party. Big Republican donors. And by the way, they overpaid massively, at least double the market rate, to fly these Venezuelans out of Florida and Texas. So all this money wasn't actually earmarked to fly them to, to have them fly to Texas, pick up the migrants, fly them back from Texas to Florida, and then from Florida to everywhere else, eventually ending up in Massachusetts. So that is a misuse of taxpayer money. Not Veritol, sorry, it's Vertal Systems. And by the way, they were paid $615,000 on September 8th and $950,000 less than 2 weeks later for what was identified as Project 1 and Projects 2 and 3. That fund was from the Department of Transportation to facilitate the transport of unauthorized aliens from this state, meaning Florida. None of the people flown from Martha's Vineyard were unauthorized aliens from this state. As one migrant named Pablo told his wife in a call home, quote, "My love, we were tricked. This woman lied to us. She lied." So, if there is a deep state, this would be it. It's where Republicans will use counterintelligence agents like this, or former counterintelligence agents, to go and use that training to trick people, to mislead people, in order to do these just disgusting political stunts for racist Republicans. It is sick beyond sick. And someone needs to be punished. Okay, let's move on. The Washington Post is now reporting that at least one member of former President Donald Trump's legal team has hired her own attorney. Because it's always fun when lawyers have to lawyer up. Now, this is, of course, related to the DOJ investigation into the stolen documents recovered from Mar-a-Lago. According to the report, Trump attorneys Christina Bobb and Evan Corcoran have confirmed to the Justice Department that Trump had handed over all classified records from his Mar-a-Lago residence in response to a May subpoena. That, of course, was not true. Prosecutors said their response was incomplete after the FBI searched and found more documents at Mar-a-Lago and cited evidence of obstructive conduct in response to the subpoena. Bob has since hired her own lawyer, Florida-based former prosecutor John Lauro, and made it known to Trump allies that she is willing to cooperate and be interviewed by the Justice Department, according to the Post. And colleagues have similarly urged Corcoran to hire a defense lawyer, criminal defense lawyer, very important, because, well, of his response to the subpoena. Again, always not a good sign when you have your lawyer have to get a lawyer, because it looks like you might have lied to the FBI. But yes, all the best people, he hires the best people, the greatest people, the most tremendous people. Isn't that amazing? I mean, it really is. It really is. That said, look, we don't know for sure that she lied. There's two possibilities. She lied or someone lied to her. So now Bob had signed a document affirming that Trump handed over all the documents that are responsive to the subpoena after conducting what she claimed was a diligent search, or what they had deemed a diligent search. I don't know if she was actually out there searching herself. So now Corcoran also made a similar statement, and Bob claims, oh, no. The document that I signed stating that, completely accurate. As far as I know, yes, we had handed over everything. But she also, interestingly enough, told Right Side Broadcasting Network that she was not acting as Trump's attorney while serving as a custodian of records when responding to the subpoena. wait, so she says, oh, well, look, I was there, I signed the documents, but not as Trump's lawyer. No, I was a custodian of documents. I wasn't representing Trump at all. Now, again, that's really weird. Why would she do that? Well, since she claims that she wasn't acting as Trump's lawyer during that time, the DOJ is able to compel her testimony more easily, which, again, I guess it could go either, two ways, right? On that. So if she's not representing Trump, she could say that, well, Trump, I wasn't defending Donald Trump. And I didn't lie. As far as I know, the information was accurate. Now, Bob said, quote, I think people were a little bit confused. I am on President Trump's legal team. I do work for him on election issues, but I was never on the legal team handling this case. Just to be clear on that, which is why I came in as the custodian of records, because I wasn't on that team. So look, she's trying to lay out her defense in my case, right? That's what I think. Oh, and look, I wasn't his lawyer. I was simply doing records. He can't accuse me of lying on his behalf because I wasn't on his behalf. I wasn't even lying. I wasn't even working for him on that case. Is that true? Again, I have no idea. Who's to say that she knew more documents existed or not? You can speculate, and I certainly have, and certainly a lot of you are. But in my case, it's one thing to sit there and go on Newsmax and lie your ass off day in, day out, right? That's because you won't go to prison for it. I mean, you're never going to really get in trouble for that unless you do massive defamation, and that's incredibly difficult to prove. You can lie on TV, and Christina Bobb, she did that for a living. However, when you're in a courtroom, when you're talking to the Department of Justice, well, that's a lot different. That is hugely different. You can't lie there because there are significant consequences if you do. That said, a lot of dumb people did work for Donald Trump. And so, is it outside of the realm of possibility that they'd lie for him? No, not at all. Not outside the realm of possibility. In fact, Michael Cohen literally went to prison for Trump on his behalf. He used to be the co-conspirator to Donald Trump. As far as Bob, again, she went on OAN and spouted election interference or election nonsense, right? About they stole the election. The Democrats, Joe Biden, the deep state. Well, just all sorts of complete and utter, again, nonsense, falsehoods, not true. Now, either she was stupid enough to believe the things that she was saying, which is certainly possible, or she counted on everyone else who was watching her to be stupid enough to believe her in order to give her money, having her job. Which of those things happens to be true remains to be seen, honestly. Now, if she lied, that's huge. Now, if she didn't, and the DOJ compels her to testify, and she does so truthfully, well, she would have to, unless she pleads the fifth, she would have to testify who that person is that told her that there were no more documents at Mar-a-Lago. Who that person would be, I don't know. It could be Trump, it could be someone else. But somebody's going to go under that bus. Because that bus is coming. Ain't nobody going to stop it. Again, Trump stole documents that didn't belong to him. And then, again, had his lawyers, whether willingly or not, lie to the FBI. Not a good thing. So now, as for Corcoran, who was referenced by Trump's attorney in court documents, who is referenced as Trump's attorney, has also been counseled by colleagues to grab a lawyer. He has since, of course, refused, saying, oh, I don't need no lawyer. Now, either, again, he was, lied to, or I don't know, or maybe he thinks that everyone else is stupid and that he's got a great defense I don't know. Either way, it's not a good look to have, your lawyers in the metaphorical crosshairs by the DOJ for assisting in obstruction. And I think it's a good reminder that it's as to why lawyers have avoided representing Donald Trump. Even Chris Keys, who already got paid $3 million in advance because all of his lawyers get stiffed, has been sidelined from the DOJ investigation. Now, we don't know why that is. Oh, it's very unclear, says all the reports. But look, there are other reports that say that Keys had tried to take a less aggressive approach to lower the temperature, and that's in opposition to what Trump and the other lawyers want to do. They want to be more aggressive. Now, here's the thing about Keys. He's actually probably the most qualified lawyer in the Trump team that they were able to recruit. Again, they had to pay the donors, had to pay $3 million to have him retained. And the fact that he's not even working on this case, I mean, I think that could do, look, him not wanting to work on this case, it was probably a result of him saying, I'm not going to lie for you. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to do anything ridiculous. So what I'm going to do here is, yes, if you want me to, I will represent you the best that I can, but I'm not going to lie for you because that affects me. That could damage me personally. And I'm not interested in that. Then you have Bob and the other clown lawyers that might have actually lied on his behalf. So, again, this really does show you that this situation it's starting to get real bad for his lawyers, but yet still remains to be seen as being bad, specifically for Donald Trump. Because we, again, haven't seen any sort of possibility of consequences coming his way. But for his lawyers, better watch out. That bus is coming. Beep, beep, bitch. Renee LaChapelle on Facebook says, every lawyer that works for him will be thrown into the bus. Trump will use all of them before tossing them out. Lost in the $3 million. The guy is purported to be a South America spy. Either way, paid, then fired him. I don't know about the spy charges. I haven't read up on that. But remember, Trump did not actually pay the $3 million. That came from his PACs. That came from his lawyers. Trump never pays not from his lawyers, from his donors. Trump never pays for any lawyer. Trump doesn't pay his legal bills. That's why the Republicans do it for him. And by extension, all the MAGA chuds who donate to him. But yes, you're absolutely right on the rest of that. Pretty much all that. Because, they will get thrown under the bus. It's a great comment. Thank you for weighing in. All right, let's move on. We do have a Mike Pillow story, but it is relevant. It appears that Mike Pillow is going to court. On Monday, NBC News reported that the Supreme Court, which is back in session, which, that's not good. But the Supreme Court has denied a petition from MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell to review a lower court ruling that allowed the defamation lawsuit against him to move forward. So they have refused to hear that case. No, we're not interested. Are you kidding me? Mike Pillow? Clown of the earth. No, we're not going to waste our time on this guy. Move on. Let's go to, gutting more of American citizens' rights. That's what we're interested in. And by the way, some of the big cases that are coming up in the Supreme Court have to do with LGBTQ rights as well as voting rights. 2 cases specifically. We'll get into that into another segment. But the justice's decision not to hear the case means that a federal judge's ruling in August 2021 that allowed the lawsuit to move forward remains in place, according to reporter Lawrence Hurley. Dominion sued Lindell and MyPillow back in February of 2021, claiming $1.3 billion in damages and alleging that Lindell had purposefully pushed the big lie that Trump won the 2020 election. Lindell repeatedly echoed baseless claims that Dominion voting machines manipulated vote counts to ensure that Biden defeated Trump. The report continued. The claims have been widely debunked. In the lawsuit, Dominion argues that Lindell knew his claims were false and that Lindell's lawyers say he genuinely believes him. Imagine that being your defense. Yes, sure, we said a bunch of insane things that weren't true about the election, but it's because he believed them. Yeah, look, Your Honor, my defendant, my client's a moron. Can you really blame him? I mean, he's smoked crack for years, and is kind of a dumb person. So obviously he can't be guilty of defamation because he believed it was true. Well, look, the question that I've asked on this show is, Mike Pillow, is he a grifter or is he legitimately insane? And I think the last time we asked that question, we came up with kind of a mix of both. Now, look, the guy obviously gets money and attention from MAGA, right? Chuds love him. They send him money. They buy his pillows because of his insane ramblings, right? But also, thanks to an investigation done by Jonathan Larson from TYT, he basically was recruited by a secret conservative organization called The Family and was made to believe that he and Trump were tools of Jesus Christ. I'm not kidding. That Trump is a messiah of sorts. And that Mike Lindell was spreading the good word of Trump. In fact, from that report, quote, what gave Lindell the certainty he was looking for was evangelical Christianity, one Republican operative told Politico. He was born again. Another MyPillow employee told Politico, quote, there's a lot of people calling and saying Mike is a disciple of God. So, yeah, we got Jesus going on here. Okay, lots of belief that insane. Mike Pillow is a disciple of Jesus, a representative. Okay. Now, look, that kind of insanity is definitely something people can buy into about themselves, and or if they didn't completely buy into it, or partly buy it into, or shoot, even if you buy into it, you also might think, I need money. Well, there you go. Now, this also, by the way, gives people a sense of intense victimhood, as well as being able to use it, again, that victimhood to personally profit. So now, the thing about that, though, is that the profit is part of the problem. It comes at the expense of others, namely workers at Dominion Voting Systems. They have been threatened by MAGA chuds, but also the chuds themselves that wanted to believe so badly in the big lie. So as far as him, again, being crazy, yes, I think he is crazy. I think he is legitimately believes that he's a disciple and is also spreading MyPillow codes in order to make a profit. Now, that said, let's move on to more details about the case. Lindell had also unsuccessfully asked U.S. District Judge Carl Nichols of Washington, D.C., who himself is a Trump appointee, to allow him to appeal two legal questions related to the landmark 1964 Supreme Court defamation ruling in New York Times versus Sullivan, which concluded that there must be evidence of actual malice for a public figure to pursue a defamation claim. Now, telling people something that you obviously know is not true over and over again with the explicit aim, and you can go back to Mike Pillow talking about this over and over in these videos. We're going to bring down the machines. We're going to destroy the machines. We're going to melt them down, and we're going to throw everyone involved in prison. That includes the people at Dominion, the workers, the CEOs, the people who design the machines, to just literally destroy the business itself. If that's not malicious, I don't know what is. It sounds pretty malicious to me. Again, it wants these companies just obliterated. Especially for something that I do believe that he deep down knows, but cannot admit him to himself, is just not true. He cannot believe or accept that he's wrong and that he's been wrong the whole time. There was no mass voter fraud. Donald Trump is a serial liar. Whether you refuse to believe that or not, it's still the truth. It's still provable. Okay. So let's move on here. Let's go to Marjorie Greene. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene loves to make things up. Her latest lie, however, could have some pretty dangerous consequences. I'm going to show you a video here of her at a rally where she is claiming that Democrats are hunting down and literally murdering Republicans. Take a look.
I'm not going to mince words with you all. Democrats want Republicans dead, and they've already started the killings. An 18-year-old boy was run down by a Democrat driver who confessed to killing the teenager simply because he was a Republican. Even right here in Michigan, just last week, an 83-year-old woman was shot in the back for advocating for the unborn. Yep. Joe Biden has declared every freedom-loving American an enemy of the state. But under Republicans, we will take back our country from the communists who have stolen it and want us to disappear.
Okay. So, look, let's get to the facts. Marjorie Taylor Greene, you're not going to be surprised, is wrong. Not only is she trying to politicize a horrible tragedy, but also is trying to stir up violence against Democrats, the very thing that she is projecting and is claiming Democrats are doing. So now let me get to the facts on this to disprove her, both of her examples, by the way. So now the story of the North Dakota teen. He was struck by a drunk driver, and that's horrifying. That's awful. An 18-year-old kid is dead. He didn't do anything wrong, and it was just awful. So now let's get into the details, right? Now, the 41-year-old suspect who fled the fatal crash scene had told police that he believed the 18-year-old victim was part of a Republican extremist group and that he had been threatening him. So that's according to the Daily Mail. However, according to North Dakota Highway Patrol Captain Brian Niewind, and this is talking to Fox News, by the way, investigations have uncovered no evidence to support the claim that the murder had anything to do with the 18-year-old's political affiliation or that he was a Republican. And in fact, here's the quote. We have uncovered no evidence to support Mr. Brandt's claim on the 911 call that he made that Kayla Ellingson is a Republican extremist, nor that this incident involved politics. This is a terrible tragedy for the Ellingson family. We continue to investigate what led up to the incident, the crash itself, and the claim made by Brandt, but at this time, there has been no evidence to corroborate Brandt's statement. I mean, so far, there's really no evidence on Marjorie Greene's side to say, oh, see, he's being hunted down by Democrats. Okay, so now, in fact, some of his neighbors corroborate this account as well. In fact, one of Brandt's neighbors told Fox News Digital that he has, quote, been nuts his whole life and should have been in a mental health institute. The neighbor also added that Brandt's bail was extremely low for what he allegedly did, adding that it should have been higher, and saying that the 41-year-old had, quote, too much to drink the night of the incident. quote, when Brandt is drunk, he goes on rampages. That's awful. Police had found that Brandt had been drinking that night. When officers came to his residence, he had admitted consuming alcohol prior to the incident. Brandt's blood alcohol level from the breathalyzer was over 0.08. So look, it looks like this guy had some serious addiction to alcohol and mental health issues. Neighbors also say that Brandt's accusation that Ellingson was part of a Republican extremist group was only an excuse for what he allegedly did. Maybe the guy watched too much. I don't know. Too much like television or whatever. Fox News. I don't know. I don't know. Look, that said, four of Brandt's neighbors said the incident didn't have anything to do with politics, but rather Brandt's mental health conditions. Now, that said, there are people, of course, who identify as being on the left that have mental health issues and being on the right that also have mental health issues. That's not really a political thing. Human beings sometimes have mental health issues. That said, right? People having mental health issues is not a primary driver for violence or mass shootings or anything like that. So trying to paint, violence and things like that as a part of being mentally ill is incredibly damaging towards people who are mentally ill. Okay, and so let's just get that out there. Let's be very honest about this and the fact that you have all of this unfair stigmatization of people with mental illness. They're not overwhelmingly violent or destructive. So again, let's be real on that. So that said, have we had issues where there was violence perpetrated from somebody who identifies as someone on the left? Yeah. For example, there was a congressional baseball shooting, right? Where you had, congressmen, right-wingers, Republicans, who were shot by someone who claimed to have supported Bernie Sanders and Democrats. Now, several Republicans were injured, including Steve Scalise. Now, what did the left do? Well, they immediately denounced this guy and his actions. And of course, we found out that he had some serious issues. So, but that said, if you are going to blame mental health, if you're, whether you're right or the left, then, well, okay, if you think mental health is a huge problem, which, by the way, it is, but if you falsely believe that it is the driver of all of this violence, then why wouldn't you fund mental health? I mean, Republicans in the House recently voted against, party line, a House bill that would fund mental health in schools. And they, of course, not just, with school-age children, but also consistently against expanding access to mental health care for all Americans. So there's a little bit of hypocrisy here. Now, the other story that she talked about was another local story in Michigan, where a man had reportedly shot an elderly anti-choice volunteer on accident. So now Richard Harvey was the one who has been charged with shooting this anti-choice activist. He told Fox News that it was an accident. Harvey apparently was in a barn on the property when he heard screaming from the house. He grabbed his wife's .22 caliber rifle and fired a warning shot. By the way, the anti-choice activist here, she's like, oh, the only thing that I saw was the gun. It was just such a huge gun with such a long barrel. What's a .22? Anybody who knows a .22 knows that they're relatively small rifles. Generally. A very small caliber bullet. And obviously, she was shot in the shoulder and was able to drive herself to the hospital. An 83-year-old woman, by the way. So, I mean, but that gets to the idea of whether or not it was an accident. Sharon Harvey, the wife, had recounted that she had heard a knock on the door on September 20th and was greeted by a woman who, she says, was from some coalition to save women and babies, and asked her to vote against Proposal 3. Proposal 3, of course, is the proposal to enshrine the protections of Roe into the Michigan Constitution. Now, she told the volunteer that she would not oppose Proposal 3 and explained why. She had a 4.5-month tubal pregnancy in 1971 that had required surgery and had nearly killed her. So she's like, look, having that procedure saved my life. So I'm not at all interested in voting against that because that will kill people. To ban abortion completely. Because right now we've seen in different states that a lot of doctors have had to consult lawyers on these types of procedures because under the laws, which are murky, might be considered an abortion, and these doctors would get in trouble. These hospitals would get in trouble, doctors would go to jail, get sued, etc. So that said, more details, right? She said that the volunteer would not take the fact that I was going to vote yes on Proposal 3 as an answer. She didn't care. She didn't care. I told her, I says, women are going to die. I nearly died. She says, well, you didn't, did you? That's part of the verbal altercation that these two had. And so, look, when we're talking about things like this, emotions are going to get heated, right? And so, of course, this turned into an argument. Sharon Harvey then said, look, I'm not gonna agree with you. We're not gonna have any agreement here. Please leave. Get off of my property. Go do something else. That she claims to have told the woman to leave her property at least a dozen times before the canvasser finally agreed to step off the front porch. But that's it. And then continued to argue. Richard then recounted that the volunteer was still ranting and raving and had this clipboard. She's waving it around. I'm thinking she's going to smack Sharon with it. So I, without thinking, I went to club it away with the rifle. By the way, let's go back a little bit to when he had heard the arguing, grabbed the rifle, fired a warning shot at a tree. Then he went up there, still holding the rifle, and tried to use the gun to bat the clipboard away. Apparently, his hand went on the trigger, right, or was still on the trigger guard, and when he tried to bat it away, fired somehow and hit her in the shoulder. I don't know how true that is, but he says this: I shot somebody. It was an accident. Now, this is under investigation. We'll see if that's the truth. But he is currently being charged with assault, careless discharge of a gun, causing injury, and reckless use of a firearm. Which, by the way, yeah, it seems pretty reckless, to be fair. Which is why I say, when you have guns around, when you have guns involved, well, that's when you get a bad time. You're going to have a bad time. That said, nobody died. The anti-choice activist drove herself to the hospital. She's recovering. And so I don't think this qualifies as a case of Democrats literally hunting down Republicans. We don't even know if that specific person was a Democrat to begin with, the husband. That said, I think women, or March for Life, this group of which the victim, and she is a victim, she was shot, belongs to, is saying, no, this was targeted. And look, she had a whole lot of pro murdering baby stuff on her Facebook. Okay. I still don't think that this is a case of, again, somebody intentionally going and targeting Republicans. It seems like more of an accident than anything. And again, we'll see when the actual investigation is over and whether or not this man is charged. Or I should say not charged, but convicted. That said, a lot of Republicans do support Roe. About 4 in 10, 38%, opposed the Supreme Court gutting Roe. And in many cases, again, people support the right to an abortion just for the simple fact that having one at some point had saved their lives. But neither of these cases, again, will prove that Republicans are systematically being hunted down and murdered. I mean, seriously, it is dangerous to go out there and say that kind of stuff because it's not true. It's just not true. Now, again, as a leftist, I want to make life better for everyone. That means Republicans. Yes, hey, Republicans, I want you to have health care. I want you to have higher wages and good jobs. And yes, I do want you to be safe. I want everybody to be safe. That's, of course, why I oppose Republican politicians. Because they don't want any of those things. But see, what Greene does is she characterizes Democrats, whom I personally see, the Democratic Party, as too conservative. But she calls them communists. And then claims that we will take back our country from these communists who have stolen it and want us to disappear. They want us dead. No. I would think, look, I think it'd be great if the Republican Party didn't exist anymore as an apparatus or has no power. But that doesn't mean murdering your opponents. And then talks about the enemy within. It's the enemy within. They've abused their power, declared political warfare on Donald Trump. Again, Trump stole documents that didn't belong to him. And then the government took them back after begging them for months. But what she's saying is lies and projection. How often have Republicans openly talk about shooting Democrats? Look, I remember Republicans literally making targets out of Obama. Yes. Yeah. These targets. Obama. And they would be shooting targets. And they would, again, what do you do with shooting targets? You shoot them. I know that's not the same, and I'm not trying to say it's the same as shooting people, but how much more violent, rhetoric and imagery are we going to see from the right wing that some people are going to take as an invitation to do it in real life? And that's the real problem here. And how many ads do we have, specifically of Marjorie Greene, with guns? Especially in shooting a car has socialism written on the side, of course, to represent the Democratic Party. She knows exactly what she's talking about. She knows exactly what she's doing. Look, and by the way, they've also, again, talked about killing the former vice president. You had Mike Pence. And you also had, as far as Democrats are concerned, you have an entire movement that is mainstreamed by Donald Trump and the Republican Party that believes that the Democrats in Hollywood are all satanic pedophiles who are drinking children's brain juice. No, what this is that it's stochastic terrorism. She seems to be stoking violence against people that she does not agree with. I think that words matter. And I'm afraid that as a result of all this, there will be more political violence due to people like her. Well, of course, what I'm not saying is, well, what she thinks people like me say. I don't want her dead. I want her out of power. I don't want her to have any political power or influence, which is vastly different than the messages that her and her ilk send out about Democrats and people on the left all the time. Okay. Last story video. Republican gubernatorial candidate in Michigan, Tudor Dixon, recently shared probably one of the most cringeworthy ads I've ever seen. Take a look.
Hey, have you seen the TV ads with the governor talking about the great things she's done for Michigan?
She's a liar. Whitmer can say what she wants, but we live here. Just look around, man.
During COVID, Whitmer locked down businesses like the Owasso Barber and put one woman from Holland in jail. Oh, yeah. 3,000 restaurants closed. And she's pro-business?
Yeah, right.
And what about those higher gas and food prices?
Our schools were closed for almost 2 years. Poor kids.
Speaking of kids, Whitmer says she's gonna work like hell to keep killing babies.
And she put COVID patients in Graham's nursing home.
Graham died alone. Okay. I'm voting for the other chick. What's her name?
Tudor Dixon.
Okay, let's roll.
Watch out for potholes. Whitmer never kept her promise to fix the damn roads.
Wow, that was bad. That was really bad. Now look, to be fair, Tudor Dixon didn't pay for this, which is surprising because she's got all that DeVos money. But no, this was again from the Gratiot County GOP, which, guys, you might want to work on a little bit better. Okay, I'm just saying that seemed more like a parody than an actual political ad. I don't know, maybe I'm just like used to all these very slick super PAC ads, maybe I'm just not, maybe it's not what the regular average Gratiot County biker. I don't know. But wow. No, you know what? This was bad. Okay. Look, I know that political ads usually are pretty cringe, but you're calling Tudor Dixon. Who's that other chick? I'm going to vote for that other chick. Really? Wow. And by the way, this also makes bikers look stupid. Hey, I don't know anything about politics because I'm an average biker person who's very, very worried about Graham. You know what? My grandma actually did die during COVID. Not from it. She had a stroke. I didn't get to see her. And the reason that I didn't get to see her in the hospital is because of idiots, morons, who didn't wear masks. They didn't get vaccinated. And that forced the state to, yes, have to do more lockdowns because right-wingers like that did not care about anything but my freedoms. My freedoms. I'm a little upset. Not at Gretchen Whitmer. And look, she wasn't my first choice. In the Democratic primary, I voted for Abdul Al-Sayed. A doctor, right? But look, that said, Gretchen Whitmer did a halfway decent job at attempting to try to keep the state safe. Despite the chuds that were, threatened to kidnap her and, of course, were screaming about their freedoms. I don't want to wear a mask. Oh, I'm a big tough guy to wear a mask. Look, these people, terrible ads aside, which is fun to laugh at, but the actions of the things that these people did made things worse during COVID. Not better. They had actually done, what we were all asked to do. Then yeah, things would have ended up a lot better, I believe. But we had a lot of the country, a huge chunk of the country, that said, no, I'd rather go to Applebee's. Yeah, screw you guys, screw your health, screw your grandma. I'm going to Applebee's. I want the 2-for-1 sandwich. Now, the good news is that Tudor Dixon not doing very well. I hope she does not win. Because look, obviously she would be an absolute disaster. She's massively, massively anti-choice, even in the cases of rape and incest. That's horrifying. But not to mention, again, she's your typical MAGA chud. And she'd bring all these MAGA chud policies to the state. Can't afford that. Not good at all. But the polls, the latest poll released by the Trafalgar Group on Friday shows Whitmer with 51% of voters and Dixon with just over 45%. That's, again, a little close for comfort, but again, not really surprising, given how, look, Michigan went for Trump in 2016, but, went for Biden in 2020. So it does have the capability of swinging back and forth, all depending on how they turn out the voters, how they energize the voters. Now, there's another poll that's a little bit more friendly towards Democrats, and that was one commissioned by the Detroit Free Press, which recently found Whitmer with a 16-point lead. The incumbent governor had the support of 55% of voters, while Dixon had the backing of only 39%. That poll, which surveyed voters between September 15th and September 19th, had a 4% margin of error. As far as business goes, Detroit's Regional Chamber of Commerce endorsed Whitmer for re-election after backing her in 2018, and it's the latest biz group to back her, along with the Northern Michigan Chamber and Michigan Manufacturers Association. Groups that have typically back Republicans have remained neutral. And so, look, generally, it's not a great thing when you have Democrats that are supported by giant corporations and business groups. But I think what they've seen from the side of Tudor Dixon is that she's insane, and that her policies would bring even more ruin. Whereas, again, Whitmer, my issue with her is she's always been very establishment. And so the establishment is saying, yeah, we're going to stay with Whitmer instead of going with these insane people that are going to bring the state down. Not in favor. But then again, maybe after seeing this ad, they might think a little differently. Oh, look at those. These bikers, maybe they're onto something. Maybe we'll vote for that other chick. Ridiculous. Okay. Anyway, that's all I got for you today. Thank you for going around the nation with me. Was that Roseanne Bry? I would hope not. Don't worry, she'll have a new Fox Nation show soon, though. So Roseanne's coming back to your TVs, everybody. I bet you can't wait. Maybe she'll have some Ambien. But you know what happens when you take Ambien. It suddenly turns you into a massive racist. I'll make the rules. That's what he is. All right, Kevin Mathis. Thank you for the very kind $5. And Jonathan Leiter says, Happy October. The candy corn debate begin. There's no debate. I don't really care about candy corn. I'm not pro one way or the other. Just say it. Okay. Thank you, Twitch. Nothing going on Twitch here. But again, thank you for going around the nation with me today. Appreciate it. Make sure to like and share the stream if you haven't already. Thank you all, and remember, change begins with you. Love you all. We'll see you back here tomorrow.
Oh no! I will eat your ass!
And then they say, it's Donald Trump, an intellectual. Trust me, I'm not a smart person.
Disappointed!
Really?
And why their due process rights are being so flagrantly and horrifically violated. Peachtree dish.
Oh yeah.
They're kicking me out the door. They're kicking me out the door.
want to go to space.